biggest water company, Thames Water, may have to be nationalised. That's because investors say they won't pump any more money into the company. Now, the company supplies around a quarter of the UK's population, but is drowning in £15 billion worth of debt. Let's hear now from Dr. Ewan McCaughey, who is Professor of Law at King's College London. He specialises in public services and regulated industries. Let's start by, how did the company get into such a mess?
Well, since privatisation of the water industry in 1989, we've had all water companies, not just Thames Water, paying out collectively £72 billion in dividends, and at the same time paying much of that by loading themselves up with debt. So you mentioned the 15 billion figure for Thames Water alone. And so fundamentally the regulation in the Water Industry Act 1991 says that the regulator should make sure that water companies and their investors can get a return on their capital. It's not primarily about making sure that there is good water, that the rivers are clean, that the beaches are clean. So, you know, the heart of this is a failure of the experiment of privatization. We even have a situation where currently on the board of Thames Water is a director who used to be the chief executive of Ofwat, the regulator. And so this is how broken and captured the regulation system is, when you can be a regulator but then get a lucrative job at a water company later on that you're meant to be regulating. You're probably not going to do a very good job. The government oversees all of this, and it can change it by putting water companies into special administration and bringing about not just temporary but permanent public ownership, which is like, by the way, what 90% of countries around the world already do.
But at a time of really stressed public coffers, can governments really afford to run water companies?
Well, I think the real issue is that we can't afford to have water companies continue to be privatised. It's just costing too much in bills. Thames Water wants to put up bills by 70% by 2030, even though they've been doing record sewage leaks. We see bills are 10% lower in Scotland, where you have Scottish Water in public ownership. There are problems, of course, up there, but it is far away from the disaster that we're seeing in England. And if we trigger the special administration procedure, that means that shareholders lose their investments, creditors who've been reckless in lending and also taking money out of the water system can be made to take a haircut. But you know, fundamentally, we've also got to rethink what public ownership looks like in the 21st century in Britain. You know, the top-down system of Whitehall control over public services isn't really the best way. What you want to do is make sure that staff at the water companies who know the service best, bill payers who have a real interest in making sure that the service works, have representation on the boards of directors that are running our public services. And of course, it's not just water, it's also energy, it's rail, it's the NHS. The experiment of privatisation has just not got a good track record, and it's time to look at and have a serious conversation about how to change.
Dr. McCaughey, thank you so much for joining us. Got to leave it there. Let's go to the US now, where the man once known as